Hey, Taneille, thank you so much for coming on Northern Vibe. I am really, really excited at the prospect of our chat.
No, thank you so much for having me on today.
Oh, my pleasure. Look, first, I suppose it's important to get some context around our interview. Heptathlon is, I would pretty much say, the ultimate all-round test. It's a number of events over a couple of days. Can you tell me what sports are done over what and over how many days?
Yeah, so the heptathlon is 7 different track and field events over 2 days, which includes the 100-meter hurdles, high jump, shot put, and 200 on day 1, and then followed by long jump, javelin, 800 on day 2. And pretty much how it works is that you get a certain amount of points for each discipline and each result. So for every second, for every centimeter, in those performances, you get an allocated number of points. And then at the end of the 2 days, all those points are added together, and whoever has the greatest amount of points wins.
Oh, okay. So it's not just where you are, although obviously that's going to be part of it. That's
going to be part of it. Yeah. But it's really sort of, it doesn't matter what your position is. So first, second, or third, it goes on your individual performance.
Oh, so that's evened out over all of it.
Yeah. So say, for example, if I was to run a 13.42 seconds in the 100-meter hurdles, I would get 1,050 points for that. And then you get number of points for each event. And all of that is added at the end to give you the overall score.
Crikey. Okay. Well, I'm getting tired just listening to that, actually. Look, you're, and I need correction on this. I think you're 3 times national champion, 1 Oceania champion, and in the top 8 at the last games. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, at the last Commonwealth Games, I finished 5th overall with a new personal best, and became the 7th best Australian heptathlete on the all-time ranking list.
Wow. Yeah, no small achievement, if I can make the observation. And your story really is a genuinely incredible one. It's not just one of achievement. Your debut was, as you pointed out, in the 2022 Commonwealth Olympics, but you faced injury, and there was significant battles. I understand there was a fair bit of self-doubt, and there was other issues going on there. Could you tell us about your injuries and your the mental battles and that you went through there?
Yeah, so once I left school, and like every athlete, when you leave school, you're given the platter when you're in school, and you're told where to be at what times, and then you go out into the real world, and you've got to figure things out for yourself. And I had to go and either study, I had to go and work, and I was trying to balance all those things, including training. So it became not just focused on what I was doing in my sport, but other elements in my life that I had to focus on. So trying to balance that and figure that out was a very difficult part in my early junior years. And then I started getting injuries because I was trying to manage everything. And I then started getting self-doubt because, unfortunately, I missed out on going to World Junior Championships, which would have been my first Australian team. But unfortunately, I tore my hamstring. I had a few surgeries as well in my early junior years on my knee and my stomach. Went through a few female problems as well. So that really sort of pushed me back away from the sport, because I wanted to focus on my actual health rather than trying to push my body to do its very best when it clearly wasn't ready to. And then I actually took a break from the sport in 2020 when COVID hit. My coach was very, very ill. And there was no competitions in sight with COVID, and I was actually battling an injury at that time. I had a broken toe that I was pretty much told, you need surgery for it, otherwise you're going to struggle to keep doing the heptathlon. So I decided that I was going to take a break from the sport and step away completely. So I actually took a break nearly for the entire 2020 year, just away from the sport, not doing any training, just being a normal person, working the best you could in those those conditions and those days. And it wasn't until the end of 2020, I had my coach, Glenys Nunn, call me up and say, look, are you going to go to the Commonwealth Games in 2022? Otherwise, you can pretty much kiss it goodbye. Like, you need to come back to training now, or see you later. It's not going to work out for you. So I decided to quit my full-time job at that moment, and decided to go and train full-time and give it everything that I had. And so far it's paid off.
Kudos to you. What was your job?
So I was working as the head coach at a private school down here in Brisbane. So I was working there full time, and I was studying full time as well while I was having my athletics break. And then, once I started athletics again, I just started more focusing on my uni and my training.
Okay. Was that St. Aidan's?
So I was working at St. Aidan's for the last couple of years as a casual coach. I was working at Canterbury College as the head athletics coach there. And currently now I'm working for Little Athletics Australia as their ambassador for the sport, as well as their participation and inclusion manager.
Oh, that's cool. My mum was the office lady at St. Aidan's for a couple of years.
Oh,
Many years,
fantastic.
actually. Like, way before your time.
St. Aidan's is a very good school. Honestly, I wish I had the opportunity to go there as a student, because I would have loved it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And she was the office lady. It was really cool, because years later we'd be shopping and, hello, Mrs. Maloney. These ladies.
That's fantastic.
And some of them, of course, went on to be, because, it's a very good school and not cheap to go to. And, of course, a lot of these students came on, were kind of high flyers, like running into years later.
No, it's a very pristine school, and the opportunities that those girls get is just absolutely phenomenal. Like, even the facilities that they had, the gym, the oval and the equipment that they all had, it was absolutely mind-blowing. And I said, oh, I wish I had this in school, because this is just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, you won the gold at the Australian Athletics Championships in 2021, I think it was.
Yeah, so I won in 2021, was my first Australian title. So after only 6 months of training under my belt, I ended up winning the Australian title. So that was a bit of a shock, because I've never done that before in any event, let alone the heptathlon that I had been training properly for 6 months. And then, the following year I improved on that and won again. And then this year in 2022, I won my third Australian title.
Boom. Someone called Triple O, because this lady is on fire. But, coming back, that's an incredibly short amount of time, really, coming back from that 6 month break.
Yeah.
So, you've pushed your limits there. How did you do that? And it's not just, I want you to tell your story, but by implication, how, what can other people learn from that?
Yeah. So I guess firstly, it started off with having a very supportive team. So I've got an amazing family. I've got a very supportive partner. My coach, she is someone that I give full credit to what I have achieved so far, because she was the one that guided me and showed me what it was like to be an elite athlete. And this is the pathway that you need to go down. So, it was those 6 months. It was hard. It was hard work. It was showing up to training, no matter how you felt. And there was days of doubt and pain, and it was making sure I still rocked up and I did every single training session possible, and whether or not we adjusted it and made it suitable for how I felt on that training session, but you still just rocked up, and it was that consistency of just always turning up.
Yeah. You just sometimes you deserve a medal for just getting up too. But that leads directly into the next question. You do have to force yourself sometimes, but how do you maintain the relationship between discipline, passion, and love for the sport? Because if you're just hating it, you know what I mean, you're not going to turn up and you're not going to do your best.
Yeah, and I must admit, when I took the break from athletics for a few years, I was struggling with loving the sport due to injuries and politics and things like that. So I did struggle for a while to get the motivation to keep showing up and keep performing, especially because there's no financial benefit to it either. So you're just showing up because you love it. And I slowly started feeling like I was not feeling the same passion that I did as a junior. But when I came back and I was coached, and so coaching sort of started my love for the sport again, and that was really good for me. But coming back into the sport as myself as an athlete, there was that motivation of, I didn't want to go 20, 30, 40 years down the track and look at my life and go, well, what if? What could I have done, and what could I have achieved? Like, could I have made that a Commonwealth Games team? Could I have made that Olympic team? And I wanted to make sure I could answer those questions. And I wanted to pretty much lay all my cards out on the table and walk away with no regrets. And that's pretty much what I live by now while I'm still doing athletics.
And that's so important. And because obviously, you know, I'm speaking to you because you're successful, but there's hundreds of people out there who have, you know, given it a red hot go and probably done very well, but haven't reached that level. And I genuinely think those people are just, obviously not taking anything away from your achievement, but like the fact that they've made themselves do that and they've pushed that through, and they can honestly say to themselves, well, you know, hey, I gave it a shot and I just wasn't the best on the day. You know what I mean? And that's the way the ball roll.
Absolutely. And that's how I sort of defined what, well, when I got back into the sport, I didn't want to define success as making an Australian team or becoming national champion. Success to me was, okay, you need to just give it everything. And if you know that you've put in 100% effort into what you have done, and you've done all the training, you've done all the recovery, you've done all the right eating, sleeping, everything possible, and you didn't achieve all those other external factors, that doesn't matter. At least you can still walk away saying, I gave it everything and I put in that 100% effort. And that's what I define as success.
Absolutely. What I'm hearing there is fundamentally it's about participation.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And look, I literally, like about half an hour before we finish this, I just finished speaking to Grant Scooter Patterson. He's a Paralympian. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate, he's a dead set loose cannon. But he fundamentally said the same kind of thing. He goes, you know, I just didn't want, there were other things motivating him. And like, I know I'm not misrepresenting him when I say this, like he's got some pretty severe disabilities. He was putting on weight and he thought, you know, I've got to find something to put on weight. And training hurt, like it hurts. I mean, it hurts everybody when you're running and stuff like that. But because of the nature of his disability, he's got a form of dwarfism that's mixed with it's mixed with a form of bone disease. Like, so he's in a lot of pain. Doing the training helps relieve that pain, even though it causes more pain. So for him, it's just a matter of like, you know what I mean? It's like, what sort of pain am I going to feel? I prefer to feel exercise pain, which helps long-term, and it doesn't get rid of it. No. It doesn't, but it has a certain degree of relief of the other pain. It was just an amazing story. And I've spoken to Brad Bevan too. He was one of those people. I don't know if you know his story. He was an Australian Olympian. He was the favorite in the 2000 Olympics to take out the triathlon, and he was in his best form. Like it was going to happen, and it was home crowd. Yeah. And so he's cycling 2 days before he was doing a warm up. He was in Sydney, doing a bit of training, and he's crossing a road, and a P plater. I know, right? And there was just nothing he could do. And what made it worse is the accident wasn't his fault. Like the P plater stuffed up. Like he couldn't. That's right. You know, and his thing, I mean, like robbed, but like he's not bitter about it. He's just like, hey, you know, I did the best that I could. I got there, like, you know, as our Muslim cousins say, inshallah, it's the will of God kind of stuff. Like I'm just
it's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, it's out of our control. So there's nothing we can change about it.
Yeah. but he gave the red hot go. He did that, and he goes, well, I put myself in that position.
Yeah.
So, right. So you've been talking about this long-term passion that you've had, but how did you get into an athletics? Where did it all start for you?
Yeah, so I actually started athletics at my local little athletics centre back in here in Jimboomba when I was 8 years old. And that was kind of where my passion for the sport grew. I was the only girl in my age group at that point. Oh, actually, that's a lie. Myself and my friend from school were the only girls in the girls age group. The rest were boys, and they put us with the boys, and I had that very competitive edge, and I was competing against them, and in some events I would win against them, and I just fell in love with that competitiveness, but also just that variety of different events and enjoying being around with friends all the time and doing different skills. And I guess I thank Little Athletics for that.
So part of the thing was the sport's important, but it's fun. Like you're around friends, you're doing it's the socials aspect of things, it's the human contact side of things, all that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. You got to enjoy what you're doing, because otherwise, like, what are you doing it for?
So you mentioned before too, how coaching helped bring back your passion and your love for the sport. Tell me about that. Can we dive deeper into that?
Yeah. So when I graduated from school, I started studying to be a teacher. And I was realizing very quickly that teachers, we don't get enough credit sometimes for what we do, and there's a lot of work behind what we do, and I was just umming and ahhing if this is really what I wanted to be, was a teacher, especially coming straight out of school and knowing all the teachers through school. So I had the opportunity to be a development officer for Little Athletics Queensland. And they said, do you know what a development officer is? I said, not really. And they said, well, it's pretty much you go out to schools, you go out to centers, you pretty much inspire kids to do little athletics and to give it a go. And it has coaching elements in it. And at that time, I was only coaching one athlete privately. And I thought, okay, well, maybe this is an opportunity to try a different avenue where I'm technically still teaching, but it's doing the sport that I really enjoy. So I started doing coaching courses. I got more experience with learning about all the different events and how to coach them. And I started to have a lot of fun and got more knowledge about the sport and how it works. And it sort of, I guess, developed a different passion for what I loved initially. But I had so much fun just learning and being able to interact with other athletes. That's kind of, where I shifted to, was coaching. Eventually I did finish my teaching degree. Even though I took a break from it, I did finish it, but I've really fallen in love with coaching athletics.
And well, leading on to the next logical question is, so what do you say to the kids to get them inspired? Like, what's your, what do you do? I mean, besides leading by example, clearly.
Yeah. Well, I honestly have to tell them that it's not going to be an easy road, especially if they want to get to a high level. And some of them might not want to, and some of them might want to. Initially, I tell them that their journey is their own individual journey. So they should never compare what they're doing with anybody else, because their journey in the sport or in their life in general is going to be completely different to their friends or the people that they see on social media or anybody or another athlete. But also just in that moment, I try to make it as fun for them as possible. So I try to make coaching lighthearted. I try to make it engaging. I try to have a bit of a joke with them and have a laugh, because that's what's going to get them to keep coming back. And if I can make a positive impact just by doing that, it might not be, oh, Taneille was a fantastic athletics coach and she taught me how to be a better hurdler or long jumper. I would rather them say, oh, well, Taneille was a fantastic coach because she made me laugh coming to training all the time, and I could talk to her about having a bad day at school, or just being that person that they could really open up to. And that's what I sort of tried to do in my approach with coaching.
It's a consistent theme, because besides talking to Grant, Scooter, I was speaking to his coach at the same time, a bloke named Herbie, and he's this unsung hero. He's this guy who really has propelled. It's an amazing story, because Herbie trained Grant, and Grant is now an inspiration. Like, there have been other people that looked at what Grant did in the pool. Other Paralympians saw him and go, "Like, I'm going to do that." Like, they specifically have specific, because his disability is kind of serious. He's gone, well, if that guy can do it and he can hit those, I can do that too. Yeah. So that inspiration really has been, like, it's one of those things that's been paid forward. It's more of a ripple, actually. It's not just paid forward. It's like, you think of how influential that is going to be on people's lives, that positive aspect. That's just amazing.
Absolutely. And yeah, sometimes, especially in these days where there's so much negative things going around, negativity, it's really important to just try and inspire people.
Absolutely. And look, well, you're a country girl. Tell us about you. Where you're from, your family, your background.
Yeah, so I've grown up in the suburbs near Jimboomba, and yeah, so that's in the Logan area. I must admit. But yeah, I've grown up on acreage my entire life. I grew up riding horses pretty much as soon as I was born. My parents were both horse riders, and they pretty much put me on a horse straight away as soon as I got out of the hospital. So I was brought up with animals and living on the land and getting muddy and living in boots, and yeah, and honestly, you just can't take me away from here. I have moved to inner city, and I have moved to the Gold Coast, but I've ended up back here because I just love it so much. This is just my home.
And tell us about, I really want to talk about your coach too, but tell us about your parents. Yeah,
so my parents, they are fantastic. I'm their only child. So I must admit I get spoiled quite a bit. But yeah, my parents have been super supportive since day one. My dad loves coming to training and watching me compete all the time. And my mum, she was my influence when it came to horse riding when I was doing competitive horse riding when I was much younger. And then once I sort of decided to turn away from horse riding and do athletics, she was very supportive about doing that. And yeah, would always turn up and have a lunchbox packed ready for me and my water bottles and things like that ready. So yeah, every trip for nationals or any competition where we had to go elsewhere on a plane, that was their holiday. They would just pretty much be on the plane with me going to the they never really got a proper holiday, but they love just doing that and yeah, watching me do what I love.
Oh yeah, and it's cool. And look, you've got to tell us about your amazing coach, Glennis Nunn. Like, winning that gold in '82. What a legend!
Absolutely, yeah. I couldn't ask for a better coach and role model. We started working together just before the Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast, and I remember meeting her down at the AIS, and she pretty much spoke to me, and I was inspired by watching her coach all the little athletes down at the AIS, and I wanted to know more what it was like to be a heptathlete, because that's what I was thinking about doing at that stage. I hadn't actually started heptathlon. It was just a thought. And I went to her farm, and she spent hours with me, talking to me and saying, this is what you need to do to be a heptathlete. Like, you need to understand the point system. This is what you need to train for. And we just sat there for hours and hours and hours on her back veranda, just talking. And by the end of it, I just asked her, I said, can you please coach me? Like, you are fantastic. And I need you to coach me to get to there. And so we've had nearly a 6-7 year relationship as coach and athlete. And yeah, I honestly believe that we've achieved so much in that amount of time, and I'm super grateful for what we have achieved.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a we thing, because the relationship between, the coach and
Yeah. Honestly, I think, well, especially after the Commonwealth Games, lots of people came up to Glennis and I and said, we just loved your relationship together, you and athlete, like coach and athlete relationship together. That was super powerful, and you could see it on the TV screen, how powerful that was. And I think that's what has given us so much success in the sport, is because of that relationship that we formed.
Excellent. All right. And look, you just got engaged recently, I understand.
I did. Yes, there's the ring to prove it. Yes, I got engaged. That was only about 2 weeks ago now, so it's very, very new. Yeah, my partner, Juan, he and I have been together for almost 4 years, and he was another influence in my life that pushed me to get back into athletics. So we met in COVID times, when everything was shut down. And once everything started opening up again, and I told him and that I used to be an athlete and I kind of wish I was still training, but I don't know. He was the one that said, look, if you want to quit your full-time job, I will support you no matter what. We will make it work, however way that looks, as long as you go after your dreams. And yeah, he's been by my side ever since and been pushing me to, chase after those dreams.
And after you take that oath in front of the altar, there's no getting rid of him.
That's exactly right. Well, he can't get rid of me then. So yeah. So but
you're mine. You're mine now.
Exactly right. So at the moment, we have to put the wedding on hold for a while, because I'm actually moving to Germany in a week to go and prepare for the Olympic Games next year. And then once the Olympic Games is over, then we can definitely sort of start talking about a wedding.
Yeah. All right. That's very exciting in Germany, and the games coming up. Like, when is all the selection and all that kind of thing start for that?
Yeah. So the selection has pretty much started now, but it will finish at about end of June next year. But there's a few ways for athletes to qualify for the Olympic Games, this coming Olympic Games. So the first one is getting an automatic qualifier, so performing a certain score, which only 6 girls in the world have actually done that. So it's a very, very hard qualification to achieve. The second option is, and this is the option that I'm chasing after, is qualifying through ranking points. So with rankings, you compete at multiple different competitions, and based on your performance and that level of competition, you get extra ranking points. And if you place within the top 24 in the world by the end of June next year, you get an invitation to go to the Olympic Games.
Boom. Well, mate, our fingers are crossed for you. And considering, we're back in, and being a Queenslander too, that just like warms my,
Absolutely. No, I hope I can make Queensland, Australia proud by making that team.
Oh, well, whether you do, and you should, but, whether you do or you don't, you've already made the country and Queensland proud. That much I can assure you of.
Thank you.
Look, I'm pretty much running out of questions. Is there anything, you just want to add, like to the good, a message you'd like to give to the good viewers of Northern Vibe in far North Queensland? Or words of inspiration?
Well, look, if there is any people that are out there that they want to sort of reach out, and if there's any way that I can help, just even if it's just a inspiring chat, or it might be something in regards to athletics, or you just want to follow and support my journey, my social media tag is @Taneille Crase, and they can contact me through that.